Hey guys, really quickly before this video gets started, I wanted to let you know about my new Discord server and Patreon page. If you're looking to connect with me, find groups to team up with in Destiny and other games alike, or just want to become more involved in this community, you can check out the link I've left down below. Trust me, I need people to play with. I'm lonely. Also, if you would like to support my channel even more than you already do, I have linked my Patreon page down there as well. I plan on starting to stream soon, and those that choose to support me further will get first dibs, as well as other luxuries. It's completely optional, but greatly appreciated. More than you know. Thanks for listening, guys, and let's get started with the video. The first Destiny was my favorite game for a long time. And as many of you know, the second Destiny? Not so much. While Destiny has had its ups and downs, it still remains an extremely popular game beloved by many people. And despite Destiny 2's rocky beginnings, it now today stands as actually a really good game. It still suffers from some fundamental problems, but in terms of the things Bungie can actually fix, they fixed a lot. That's not an excuse for the state it was released in, but I want to give credit where credit's due. Destiny 2 is a really fun game to play right now, in my opinion, packed with tons of content. But you know that thing about content? People always want more. The second something comes out, people are already wanting to know about what's coming next. While Destiny 3 might be a year or more away, there have been some interesting leaks providing us with some spicy info. Ooh, burnt my tongue a little bit. This Reddit post has apparently been out for a little while, but it has recently been getting more and more attention. Nothing I'm about to say is confirmed information, so take it all with a grain of salt. Apparently this source has been proven to be pretty credible when it comes to Destiny leaks in the past, but with the Bungie and Activision split and all that stuff going on, there is no way of truly knowing what Bungie's plans are for the future of Destiny. Despite that though, there is a lot of interesting stuff in here, and I feel like it's worth talking about. Plus, I feel like I owe you guys some Destiny content. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Like I said, this is all just theory, so not technically spoilers, but if you're afraid of that, keep it in mind as some of the things in here could be considered to be small story spoilers if these things do turn out to be true. A while back, probably more than a year ago by now, my god, I made a video about the after credits scene in Destiny 2 and talked about who could be on the ships and what it can mean for Destiny 3. And surprisingly enough, if these leaks turn out to be true, my theory wouldn't be too far off. Considering the fact that I never get anything right, I'm gonna prematurely give myself a little pat on the back. So proud of myself. If you missed or never saw that video, I'll put a link to it now that you can click on because it's actually pretty similar and relevant to what we're going to talk about today. To go over the leaks, I'm just going to go in the order they appear in the post. The first bullet point we have is that the darkness is actually a race of interdimensional beings known as the Veil. Now I actually really like the name of the Veil, even though every time I look at it, I want to say Veal, which is something very different from Veil. It makes them sound dark, mysterious, kind of like a ghost almost, with a veil in real life being a see-through fabric. Veils can either be really beautiful or really freaking creepy, and I like that. It creates a good comparison between the light and the darkness, if that's what they were going for. I don't know, I immediately think of something similar to the Dementors from Harry Potter or something. It's going to be interesting what they do with the design of this race. For me, the Taken already fill that role of this dark enemy, so I'm excited to see what the Veil would look like in comparison. If we read further, the post says the game storyline is about the second collapse. Essentially, the Veil want to use the light to resurrect the Formless One. Dun, dun, dun. Now there's a lot to unpack here. First and foremost, a second collapse is mentioned. So we can assume that the darkness, or the Veil, is gonna come back and essentially destroy the tower again. The collapse was the time period in Destiny that came right after the Golden Age. Pretty much, civilization was doing great. Mankind colonized the solar system and discovered a bunch of cool stuff and OP abilities. Talking about you, do you want fireball grenades? But then the darkness came and rained on everyone's parade. Not much is known about the collapse, as only a few survived, but basically it led to the extinction of multiple species. If it weren't for the Traveler, all of humankind would have been wiped out. The Traveler was able to drive the darkness out of Earth, but it wasn't able to destroy the darkness completely. As you guys probably know, the Traveler was horrifically injured It then created the Ghosts and has been sitting dormant up until the events of Destiny 2, where the Traveler killed Gaul in its first MLG montage in millions of years. The awakening of the Traveler clearly let the remnants of the darkness know where we are in the cosmos, which then leads us to today. So even though this part is just a theory, based on the information we have so far, it makes a lot of sense. But many of you guys probably knew this already. I just want to be coherent and look like I kinda know what I'm talking about. If it's true that the Veil will bring a second collapse, it would without a doubt be the biggest event we've seen in Destiny to date. Bigger than Oryx, bigger than the Red Legion, bigger than the shotgun nerfs. We're talking mass genocide of literally everything. As it said, the Veil wants to resurrect the Formless One. There's no information on the Formless One, but when I read it, I just picture that big black blob that was the boss of the final story mission in Destiny 1, if you remember that. The Black Heart, if you want its actual name, I guess. I personally prefer Big Black Blob, or Triple B, BBB, I don't know, whatever you want to say. That's just me though. While the Traveler wields the light, it can be assumed that the Formless One wields darkness. It would be the exact inverse of the Traveler, its ancient enemy perhaps. Pure darkness. Up until this point, everything is really straightforward here. It all seems not only possible, but very likely to be the storyline of Destiny 3. If we move forward, things get even better. It's introducing a brand new darkness element, a brand new type of open world that focuses on faction-oriented gameplay between light and dark guardians. Now this one in particular is super interesting to me, as are the other ones coming up soon. It gets me super excited because I have been predicting and wanting dark guardians in this game for so long. If you have guardians that wield the light, why not have the darkness as well? I'm not sure how exactly it's going to work, but sounds cool. Moving on to the next 3 points. Yeah, I know I'm moving fast. They say the Cabal and Fallen are out as enemy races. They're being replaced by the Veil, which is the brand new massive enemy race. Veil have more combat units than every race combined to compensate for the lack of Cabal and Fallen, which are now allied with the city. The Vex, Hive, and Taken are the returning enemy races. The Veil and the Aphelion, I'm just gonna say Aphelion, I don't even know, are 2 new races being introduced in Destiny 3. I know I'm going back to old videos a lot, but way back in the day, I talked about Callus and the Leviathan and went into some lore that suggested the Fallen and the Cabal would be joining the side of the Guardians for a massive fight against the darkness. I'm not going to go into super big detail on it, but this point is explained in the lore. So if you would like an in-depth explanation of why this is happening in the game with evidence that supports it, I will leave links to all of those videos in the description as well as cards up above so you can watch them. If I took the time to go over everything in that amount of detail, this video would drag on for like an hour. So if you would like to hear information to back up some of these claims, I'll link those videos for you guys. But I will leave that up to you as it's an optional thing to do. That video will also support another claim later in the post that says Callus will have a massive role, that was actually capitalized in the post, role in the story which continues from the events of Penumbra. He's leading a new shadow faction. But either way, back on track, the post says Xivu Arath has a huge role in the storyline. For those of you that don't know, Xivu Arath is the god of war, Savathun's youngest sister. The storyline has been going in the direction of Savathun for a while now, ever since the death of Oryx, so once again, it seems perfectly logical. As a matter of fact, I know this is all theory, but a lot of this seems super legit. Just by looking at where the game is headed right now and lore from vanilla Destiny 2, I don't know about you guys, but this seems very plausible to me. I'm going to start going through a lot of these really quickly now, just as a heads up. If you want to see the post for yourself, I will link that as well. You guys that know me are aware that I'm always giving links for days. The 9 are also big players. Their help gets enlisted after the Veil takes the system, where you meet each of them. Once again, the 9 are coming into this game more and more, makes sense. Also, the Veil take the system. Good to know. The next point reads, factions grant you specialized abilities and perks. Certain factions such as the Veil's Hand enable you to tap into darkness powers. Nothing super crazy here, just more on the fact that Destiny 3 might have darkness abilities in addition to the light. For the remainder of these, I'm just going to ramble through them really quickly. There's just a lot of points, and most of them are pretty straightforward. Either that or they make no sense. There's not really an in-between. Okay, deep breath. Here we go. The game opens up with a massive war campaign. All forces of the solar system are fighting against the darkness. The Traveler is critically injured at the beginning of the game and gets overwhelmed. Europa, Old Chicago, bonus points for that one because I live there, if you didn't know. A little bit of Timbo trivia there. Venus and the Hollowed Spire are the game's base worlds. In the story, the darkness completely decimates the city and all of Earth. Yeah, let that sink in for a bit. A little crazy, but personally, I like it. It really ups the stakes here. Guardians get pushed into the solar system and have to kill the Entombed, the 7 leaders of the Veil. This might mean nothing and have no significance, but I know that in the Bible, the number 7 deals with perfection and essentially completeness. Just something to keep in mind, I don't know. The Hollowed Spire is the new big endgame zone akin to the Dreaming City. It's where a lot of PvP faction gameplay is going down. It's a monolithic alien city where the Formless One originated from. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of this sounds awesome. Questionable execution on Bungie's part, if this is even true, but I am loving what I'm hearing here. Moving forward, each planet is larger than those of Destiny 2. There are a plethora of things to do, such as dungeons and holds. I just hope the content has substance and not just large numbers of things to do. Now we get into some of the stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense just yet. Claiming holds is the basis behind the faction war gameplay, and planets change depending on which faction is currently dominating them. Veil enemies can drastically affect your abilities in the surrounding environment. They're pushing for greater variety in PvE gameplay. Thank the Jesus. Veil enemies can suppress light-based abilities and can also bend and nullify the gravity in areas that surround them. The Aphelion is the most dangerous race in the game and are glass cannons. They have the ability to suppress all of your abilities and can nullify resurrection. Getting more interesting here, the game is shipping with 2 massive raids. The first one takes you into the heart of the Hollowed Spire, where you'll be facing down the Formless One, the heart of the deep itself. And get this, it's a massive 12-player raid that's the grand finale of the second Collapse storyline. The second one is focused around the Hive. My god, I just peed my pants. If only I had 11 friends, man. That's probably a good time to remind you guys about that Discord server, man. I hate myself. Wrapping it up here, I know we're almost done. Guardians can represent a number of factions that include Future War Cult, New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, Veil's Hand, I'm assuming that has to do with Dark Guardians, Emperor's Shadow, Callus's faction, and the House of Judgment with our old pal Varix. For the sweats out there, looking all sweaty, Trials of the Nine is coming back, hosted by the Nine themselves this time around. They also are the heads of their own faction, which is based around ranking up in Trials specifically. And last but not least, probably the best point on this entire thing, Destiny 3 is being developed to be a return to form for hardcore players and veterans of the series. Looking at all of this information, and it's a lot, I think that that last sentence pretty much sums it up really well. It might not be the same for all of you, but I am loving what I'm hearing from this leak. It is just a leak, and even if it's true, at the end of the day, it's more about the execution than the concept, but everything here is looking to be exactly what players want. A refined return to form. Still hoping for some big changes and additions, looking at use-based battles, but what we have here is just a lot of good stuff. It looks like a lot of the questions people have been having about the story of Destiny and its characters will be getting answered as well, which gets bonus points from me. I would love it if Destiny 3 actually had a compelling story. They still got a ways to go, and I don't know if a lot of this is because they're not attached to Activision anymore, but Bungie seems like they're really taking Destiny in the right direction. And whether this leak is true or not, I genuinely hope the future of Destiny is a bright one. So guys, that is the Destiny 3 leaks. I've shared my thoughts, now I want to hear yours. Leave them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, if you could please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. You can check out those other videos as well as find out other ways to follow and support me, linked in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.